Chuck, I want to ask you a question. The Democratic Socialists of America are starting to take over. They're all the rage. In my world, they're more popular than Taylor Swift. I hear about them more than I hear about this wedding. I'm a football guy. I'm a football guy, right? And I didn't hear about this wedding until a couple days ago, but I've been hearing about the Democratic Socialists of America for a while. What have you been hearing about these people?
Well, the name is asinine in itself. You shouldn't have the word socialist and the word America in the same thing, as far as I'm concerned, if you're talking about our America. But that's what I understand is like the New York primary gives a really good outline of everything that's going on. Because it's not limited to New York, it's not limited to one state at all. But so let's just talk influence on that. So you have your Democratic Socialist, Zoran Mamdani, and you have your basic giant idiot, Hakeem Jeffries, right? So both of them endorsed candidates in the New York primary, right? And Hakeem Jeffries candidates and Hakeem Jeffries got laughed out of the way, and Mamdani's recommendations got in. So we have more people that are official members of this Democratic Socialist of America. At the same time, these socialist, quasi-communist points that they're putting out, they're not even shy about it anymore. Like you talk about like Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. That was Virginia, right? And she's like, oh, no, I'm a moderate and I do X, Y, and Z. And then she gets elected and blam, socialism all over the goddamn place. So there's a liar coming in to do it. So you at least have to admire their integrity. But this is causing a huge rift where the Democratic Party is disintegrating. Basically. So you have what used to be semi-extreme Democrats that are now the moderates. I think the moderates are basically conservatives now, and you have this big wave of Democratic Socialists taking over the party. It's not a good, this is the war we're looking at for the next 4 years, I think. Like the next two election cycles, definitely.
You know what I think is ironic is you have George Clooney, who's as big a communist as all of them, who's out there promoting a play that is knocking Joe McCarthy, who was a senator who was talking about the communist infiltration on our country back in the 1950s.
Oh, did he
And
make
we're
a play out of
looking at it.
the movie Good Night and Good Luck? Is that what this is?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Well, here's the deal: is
I
that
look at it different now, but yeah.
but that's the point, is that when you understand that McCarthy was correct the whole time, and the irony of the people who are the communists in here pushing communism are the ones who are saying that he was wrong while they're pushing communism is incredible. I can tell you this, is that there is a investigation into Neville Roy Singham, who is one of the funders of this. And this again goes to the fact that China is trying to influence our country on a lot of different angles. You have the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which I can tell you has been attributed to election style attacks in other countries. Yeah.
Can you explain
So
the organizational difference between that group and the Democratic Socialists of America? Because to me, that just sounds like it's the same thing.
they all sit at the same table. They just have different colored shirts, but it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. Here's the deal: is that these are these foreign infiltrators into our country. But wait a minute, these people are Americans, yes, but they're being influenced and they're being funded. Foreign influence, and it is again not just here, but all over the globe. So you see these Democrats that are cannibalizing each other. They're
Mm.
taking over. We're coming for you next, Hakeem Jeffries. We're coming for you next, Schumer.
Yeah.
And from a catharsis perspective, it's just wonderful to see that. But in reality, it is a little bit concerning because they are
More than a
gaining
little bit.
traction. Yeah,
Yeah, it
they are
has
gaining
gained a lot of
traction.
traction. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. No, I wasn't trying to cut you off. I'm just trying to reiterate what you're saying. It's it, it's this is look, we're in a culture war. And that's a light way to put it because it's more than just culture, but it's things like this is what's making the real war start to come into focus. We'll talk about like, oh, we're going to have a civil war. We're going to have a civil war because Donald Trump, because of this, whatever. But it's not going to be musket balls and like a telegraph that's going to win the war for us. This is all an ideological war. And
Hmm.
now the opposition is truly showing their face.
So
These
I will
things.
tell you this: you talk about it being a war.
Mhm.
How about the Party for Socialism and Liberation had a uh, Know Your Rights training session here in my area where they were teaching everybody about the rapid response teams. Maybe somebody may have found out a little bit about this, but anyway, uh, they were training the
Yeah.
rapid response teams. But here's the thing: is that this is what they were saying. They were saying. Um, you get into our signal chat. And then when ICE shows up, you report everything. You report everything you see, what their uniforms look like, what kind of cars they're in, what kind of
Mhm.
guns they have. And then you put it in the signal chat. You take videos. Don't upload the videos yourself. Give it to us so that we can upload the videos and we can edit out the right people because we know how to do it. Then they're training the rapid response team to take their biometric access off of their phone, meaning their fingerprint access and their face access, because they do not want ICE getting access to this signal chat. And here's the thing is that signal chat, no doubt, which this party is funded by guys like Soros and Singham,
Saying,
right?
yeah.
With Chinese influence and other foreign influence into America. What they're doing is they're running that stuff into an AI, and 95% of it is being put away. But that other 5% is like, okay, in this town, they have the guys with the brown patches with these cars, which means XYZ. And that's how they're gaining information. And that's how they have eyes into our country. And they're using Americans to subvert us. This is the scary part.
The scariest part about it is the people you're talking about at the bottom that are being recruited. These are the morons that, "Ooh, look, we get to play rebellion. Isn't this fun? Let's go do this." Like it's an activity and not realizing they're undermining the stability of their own nation.
That's why I call them the ill-informed. That's why I call them the ill-informed. However, let's look at this one thing. Over the last, 10 years specifically, the Democrats, you have the rhinos, and that's one thing. You always have to say that because somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, Republican." But anyway, the
Mm,
Democrats have really stalled out this country big time, thinking, and you've seen it before, the useful idiots, the Democrats were the useful idiots for the infiltrators into their party that are now pushing them out, or maybe pushing them back to the center, pushing them
mhm.
more right. And all of a sudden, maybe this is a way that the country will help to unite to finally get rid of these people. That's my hope.
I like that logic, but if you're talking about the people that are going to get pushed back to the center, and you're using the example of like a Chuck Schumer, I think if Chuck Schumer gets pushed out of the main spotlight of the we'll just quote it, Democratic Party, because I don't know if we're going to be able to call it that for much longer, but pushed back to the central of that, I think he's going to disappear. People aren't going to want to hear from guys like that. With Legion, who's going to be the figurehead? My money's on they're going to the poster girl is going to be AOC.
Where there's a void, there's an opportunity. And when you get the Chuck Schumers that are pushed out, maybe you'll get some more sensible Democrats in that void that are more willing to understand what's needed to get rid of this out of the country. When you see that ideology is being taken over and it doesn't exist, the fight to survive, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the Democrats definitely look at us as the enemy. We don't look at them as the enemy. We look at them as the other side of the aisle, but they look at us as the enemy. But now there's an enemy coming from their left flank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're
Left
being
one.
pushed this way.
The left flank. Yeah, but you just said that like the Soros and Singham monies go into the socialists. So
Correct.
who's going to fund Hakeem Jeffries? Nobody on the right. Who's going to
I
fund
don't
him?
know. What about all these NGOs that we're discovering that are, what's it, $14 trillion you're seeing where all
Mhm.
this tax money is going? All this tax money that's been going away, that's been funding these people. What if it funds us in the fight against them now that we understand that this stuff is blown? That's why we understand all this fraud and how all this fraud is happening so that you can shut it off and start diverting the funds back to the people who deserve it. We, the people.
Whatever stamps out the socialism, I'm down with it.